A once iconic British lorry company, known for its clean trucks and proud legacy, Eddie Stobart collapsed in a shocking turn of events. With around £200 million owed to lending banks, share trading was suspended, and even a £55 million rescue package couldn't fully stabilise the company. From being a symbol of national pride to vanishing almost overnight, this company's rise and fall is a shocking story of failure. But what exactly really went wrong? Let's find out. Eddie Stobart began his journey in the 1960s, working around farms in Cumbria. He wasn't a rich businessman or a big name, just a man with a green truck. His first truck carried grain and fertiliser between farms. It was small work, but what made him stand out wasn't the job. It was how he did it. His truck was always shiny and spotless, with neat lettering that caught people's eyes. In the 1970s, Eddie's son Edward took over. He turned the small family business into something special. Edward cared about how everything looked. Every Stobart truck had to be clean, and drivers had to wear smart uniforms. Each truck was even given a woman's name, like Emma Jane or Angelica Jade. That idea came by accident. Edward named his first truck after his girlfriend, and soon it became a rule. People loved it. Kids began spotting the trucks on roads and keeping score during long drives. There's another one. Became a game across Britain. What started as a family business became a national obsession. But the Stobarts didn't just care about looks. They were great at their job. They planned routes carefully, hired proud and skilled drivers, and became known for being reliable. In an industry full of delays and problems, Stobart deliveries arrived on time. Big clients, supermarkets, suppliers, and factories began trusting them. By the 1990s, Eddie Stobart trucks were everywhere on British roads. Their clean green, white, and red trucks became famous symbols. People even started fan clubs. Some fans sent letters asking for photos. Others visited truck depots just to watch the cleaning process. It was the kind of love usually given to football teams, not haulage companies. The company soon turned that love into success. They sold shirts, calendars, toy trucks, and VHS videos showing how the company worked. Their drivers became local heroes. On the radio, their trucks were treated like stars. Eddie Stobart wasn't just moving goods anymore. It was moving hearts, spreading pride, nostalgia, and the spirit of Britain, one clean truck at a time. The new management transformed Eddie Stobart into Eddie Stobart Logistics, a full-spectrum logistics empire. The company expanded into rail freight, warehousing, and biomass energy. The trucks still rolled, but money increasingly came from infrastructure, operations, and major contracts rather than traditional haulage. In 2007, the company listed on the London Stock Exchange. Investors poured in. Profits climbed. The share price rose steadily. For several years, expansion seemed successful. The company acquired numerous competitors and adjacent businesses. Revenue grew from £350 million in 2007 to over £800 million by 2014. The Stobart brand extended beyond trucks. Stobart Air operated regional flights. Stobart Rail managed freight services. Stobart Energy developed biomass power stations. The diversification strategy appeared vindicated. But the soul of the company was peeling away. Trucks still carried names. Drivers still wore uniforms. But passion diminished. Spreadsheets replaced personality. The fans noticed. The drivers noticed. What had been a family business built on pride became a corporate entity focused on quarterly results and shareholder returns. By the mid-2010s, cracks appeared in the expansion strategy. The company was taking on more than it could handle. Too many sectors, too many leadership changes, too much complexity. The logistics arm was sold, then restructured, bought back, and spun off again. Tracking the corporate structure became difficult even for financial analysts. Smaller, leaner haulage firms began winning contracts previously held by Stobart. Advanced GPS tracking, AI-driven route optimization, and lower overhead costs gave competitors advantages. Eddie Stobart's traditional strengths, clean trucks and uniformed drivers, couldn't compete with pure operational efficiency. The industry was changing. Technology mattered more than presentation. Behind closed doors, financial troubles deepened. In June 2019, the company announced it had discovered significant accounting irregularities. An internal investigation revealed that financial performance had been overstated. The actual financial position was far worse than reported to shareholders and the market. The revelation was catastrophic. On June 3, 2019, trading in Eddie Stobart Logistics shares was suspended on the London Stock Exchange. The stock price had already fallen from 226 pence in early 2018 to just 24 pence before suspension. Shareholders lost hundreds of millions of pounds in value. Pension funds that had invested in this seemingly stable British institution faced significant losses. Emergency measures followed. The board launched investigations. Chief Executive Alex Laffey resigned. Management chaos ensued as executives departed and consultants arrived. The company needed immediate cash injection to continue operations. Without emergency funding, Eddie Stobart faced administration and potential collapse. In August 2019, DeBay Advisors, a private equity firm, stepped in with a rescue package. DeBay injected approximately £55 million in emergency funding. In exchange, DeBay took control of the company. Existing shareholders were massively diluted. The shares that had traded at over 200 pence were effectively worthless. Thousands of retail investors lost their savings. The rescue deal kept trucks moving but gutted the company's independence. DeBay restructured operations, closed unprofitable divisions, and focused on core haulage. The broader logistics Palex empire was dismantled. Stobart Air, Stobart Rail, and Stobart Energy were sold or closed. The company returned to its roots, but under completely different ownership, and stripped of the diversification that was supposed to secure its future. Even with new ownership, recovery proved difficult. Eddie Stobart, the company, was technically alive. It still operated trucks, managed warehouses, and delivered goods. But Eddie Stobart, the beloved national icon, was on life support. The magic had evaporated. The fan club remained active, but quieter. Many drivers had left. Uniform standards weren't enforced as strictly. The sparkle and pride that defined the brand for decades faded significantly. The drivers who remained noticed the changes immediately. The rigorous daily truck washing schedules became less consistent. The immaculate presentation that once defined every Stobart vehicle started slipping. Trucks appeared on motorways with dirt, grime and road spray that would never have been tolerated in Edwards' era. The uniforms, once worn with pride and enforced without exception, became optional in some depots. New drivers joined without understanding the heritage they were supposed to represent. Old guard drivers began retiring or moving to competitors. These were men and women who had spent decades behind Stobart wheels, who remembered when driving for the company meant something special. They had experienced the glory days when other motorists would honk and wave, when children pressed faces against car windows to spot the truck names, when wearing the uniform guaranteed respect at truck stops across Britain. That culture was dying with them. The depots themselves reflected the decline. Facilities that once operated like military bases, with everything ordered and pristine, became ordinary industrial sites. The visitor centres that had welcomed fans closed down or reduced hours. The merchandise shops that sold Stobart-branded goods to enthusiastic collectors downsized inventory. The VHS tapes and DVDs showing behind-the-scenes footage stopped being produced. The connection between company and public withered. Meanwhile, competitors grew stronger and more dominant. DPD, Hermes, and Amazon's in-house delivery fleet expanded rapidly across Britain. These operations didn't worry about heritage or brand affection. They focused on algorithmic efficiency, 24-hour operations, and emerging technologies like autonomous vehicles. Their trucks weren't named Sarah or Emma. They were numbered assets tracked by GPS and managed by artificial intelligence systems that optimized every mile. Amazon particularly transformed British logistics. The company built massive fulfillment centres across the country. Their delivery vans, not lorries, became the most common sight on residential streets. Same-day delivery, next-day delivery, even same-hour delivery in some areas became standard. Traditional haulage firms couldn't compete with this speed and scale. Amazon's logistics network operated with ruthless efficiency that no heritage brand could match. DPD and Hermes captured the parcel delivery market that was exploding due to online shopping. They invested heavily in tracking technology, customer communication systems, and driver networks. Their brown and red vehicles became as common as Stobart's green trucks once were, but nobody spotted DPD vans for fun. Nobody collected Hermes merchandise. They were utilities, not icons. Eddie Stobart was caught between its legacy and an unforgiving future. Too big to pivot quickly, too famous to disappear quietly, but too damaged to compete effectively. The company still held major contracts with supermarkets and manufacturers. Stobart trucks still moved goods across Britain daily, but market share eroded steadily. Clients who had been loyal for decades began diversifying their carrier options. When contracts came up for renewal, Stobart faced aggressive competition from European firms with newer fleets and lower costs. The financial structure remained fragile even after DBay's rescue. The company carried substantial debt. Operating margins were thin. Investment in new trucks and technology was limited by cash constraints. While competitors bought the latest Euro 6 compliant vehicles with advanced fuel efficiency and driver assistance systems, Stobart made do with aging fleet vehicles. The technological gap widened yearly. In 2021, another significant change occurred that shocked the remaining loyal followers. The Eddie Stobart brand name itself was sold to Kuehne plus Nagel, a major global logistics company headquartered in Switzerland. Kuehne plus Nagel, often abbreviated as KN, is one of the world's largest freight forwarding and logistics companies, operating in over 100 countries. They paid an undisclosed sum to acquire the Stobart truck operations and brand rights. Kuehne took over the truck operations, keeping the fleet running under a new corporate umbrella. The deal transferred approximately 2,500 vehicles and multiple depot facilities to KN ownership. For the first time in history, the trucks on British motorways with Eddie Stobart painted on the side weren't actually owned by Eddie Stobart Logistics anymore. The name had become licensed branding, a corporate skin over foreign ownership. The company that symbolised British logistics excellence now operated as a subsidiary of a Swiss multinational. This was the moment many long-time fans realised the golden era had ended permanently. The message boards and Facebook groups dedicated to Stobart's spotting filled with laments and anger. How could a British institution be sold to foreigners? How could the family that built the brand allow this to happen? The emotional reaction revealed how deeply Eddie Stobart had embedded itself in British identity. This wasn't just a business transaction. It felt like a betrayal of cultural heritage. Stobart was no longer a family-run British icon. It wasn't a quirky haulage firm with named trucks and devoted followers. It was a name on a balance sheet attached to trucks operated by people who never knew Eddie or Edward Stobart,